Everyone, thanks for joining us for today's WFB Live. I'm Kim Walgren, the editor of Wood Floor Business. And today we have a really interesting session by LED Coating Solutions by Archetypal, where they're going to explain for us lighting and what wood flooring pros should know about lighting and how that can make your life better. This session today is a continuation of the last session we had with LED Coating Solutions, where Avedis and Vartan explained color theory and how that affects wood flooring. So if you haven't seen that, I highly recommend you go back and watch that session. We'll put a link to that in the chat. Avedis also had a really helpful article in the June-July issue of Wood Floor Business that also explained color theory. So we'll add a link to that also in the chat. So the session for today, the format will be, we're going to watch a video that explains lighting and how it affects wood. And then Howard and Avedis are going to do some live demos for us. And then we will have time for questions and answers at the end of the session. So if you have any questions at any time throughout this session, go ahead and click on the Q&A and enter your question in there, and we'll go through those at the end. So at this point, I will turn it over to my friends Howard and Avedis. They need very little introduction. Avedis has done award-winning floors all over the world, and Howard is one of the most respected experts in the wood flooring industry. He's been a contractor, a consultant, an inspector for many decades, and he also has a background in wood science from his studies at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. So Howard and Avedis, I turn it over to you.
Hi guys, I'm Avedis.
Good afternoon.
We will talk about, after watching the video, a little bit about the light, how it affects to the colors, to the wood. Howard will get into more details about the cellular structures and also the position of the wood, how it reflects color back, or the way it absorbs the light. But first, just want you to know this is a continuation of the color theory. And in color theory, when you're mixing colors to create a color, how big of the role the lighting affects. So once you watch the video, and then we will go ahead and talk about how we take that and use it in a wood industry, using those techniques, understanding about the color temperature and CRI, color quality, and then also the reflection from the wood. Okay, so good luck watching the video. Once it's done, we'll get back in and we'll start dissecting it. At the end, you will ask all the questions you can.
Now that you've got some color theory under your belt, and before we get to CRI, let's learn about color temperature. Color temperature is an extremely important part of how we perceive light in the visual world. Color temperature must always be considered as we plan and install floors in a space. But why? The simple answer is that our floors will vary greatly depending on the color of the floors and the light shown on those floors. So what is color temperature? Color temperature is sometimes referred to as CCT, or correlated color temperature. Color temperature is defined as the light color emitted by a black body when it's heated to certain temperatures. Instead of the temperature units we're used to, like Fahrenheit and Celsius, color temperature is measured in kelvins. Now this all might seem a bit technical, but color temperature really does stem from observations in the natural world. Most likely, you see all of these light sources pretty frequently, if not every day. Each generates a very different color temperature and has a specific Kelvin number as a result. The lower the Kelvin number, the warmer the light source is. The higher the Kelvin number, the cooler the light source is, or more on the blue spectrum. A great way to take this learning further is by getting a color temperature app for your phone. The Light Spectrum Pro app allows you to quickly get Kelvin readings on a light source while also displaying the color spectrum of the light source as well. Now let's talk about how this all relates to floors. Different types of wood naturally have a variety of different colors. And then, depending on the color of our oil, we can get wildly different color results. Let's look at a small sample of a walnut floor lit at 2600 Kelvin. Walnut is often dark and usually falls in our warmer spectrum with natural browns and yellows. But watch how much our color changes with different color temperatures. As you can see, the wood takes on such different qualities as we go from a warm light source to a cool one. The color becomes much more gray and washed out and starts to fall more and more on the cooler end of our color spectrum. So what does this mean? Unless you're in a dark room with the lights always on, the color of the floor is going to shift a little bit throughout the day. But that's okay. As floorers, it's important to consider how colors work together in a space and how that space might make us feel. What kind of space are we flooring? Is it a bright apartment where someone is working from home? Cooler colors mimic daylight and can be energizing as a result. Or is it a homey, comfortable living room most enjoyed in the evening? Or maybe you consider a variety of moods in a single space, utilizing bulbs across the color spectrum.
These days, you can even achieve all of our temperatures with a single adjustable smart bulb. So whether we're flooring a hospital, a home, a painting gallery, or showing a client how your wood sample might change color in their space depending on the lighting,
Color temperature can define the way we experience the spaces we inhabit. For more helpful videos and other deeper dives, please go to www.ledcoatingsolutions.com.
Now that we've explored color theory and color temperature, let's talk about the last variable in our color study, CRI.
Ever wonder why color looks so different under different types of light sources? The answer might seem obvious: the color of the light, the intensity of the light. And while these variables do play a part, there is another measure of light that most accurately determines color, and that is CRI. CRI stands for Color Rendering Index and is defined as a light source's ability to accurately display color in comparison to a natural and standard light source. 100 CRI is the value given to daylight and our most accurate measure of color. This sounds technical, but it's actually a very simple concept. Let's break it down. CRI is generally measured from 0 to 100, with 100 being our highest value, but there technically is no lower limit.
A light CRI value is its R value, which, in short, is calculated by averaging a light source's ability to reflect these colors accurately. These colors represent a wide spectrum of hues that we encounter often in the visual world. The individual R numbers are calculated by comparing the colors to a light source with 100 CRI. Okay, that's a lot of info. Let's do a sample test.
There are some highly technical equations that help us calculate our CRI value, but let's just go with the simple route. First, we must make sure our sources have the exact same color temperature for our tests. Next, we shine the sources on our sample colors. You probably can see that our lower light source provides a much duller color on our sample colors. Thus, through comparing the two, we can determine that our light source on the bottom has a CRI value of 70. Check out this very simple comparison of the same apple illuminated by different CRIs. The intensity of the light is the same, the color temperature is the same, the only difference between the light sources is the CRI. It's easy to see that the CRI values in the 70s to 80s produced a much more desaturated result. You can also see that, in this case, the lower CRI values look much more magenta than red.
As we go about flooring different spaces, each project will have different and specific color choices to be made. Look how vibrant and varied these oil finishes are. It would be a serious shame to see such beautiful colors washed out in a space. That's why when mixing oil colors together and bringing a sample to a client, we must make sure it's always being viewed at a 100 CRI light to show the full color potential.
Now, we're not getting super technical because the truth is, you're probably not going to be measuring the CRI from scratch that often. However, CRI plays a huge role as we go about designing spaces and choosing the best lighting for a space. In the modern world, there are many different types of light bulbs. Displayed is the typical CRI of these common light bulb types. Now, why wouldn't we always just choose lights with a high CRI? Of course this would be ideal, but we must consider cost, energy efficiency, and application of these lights. Now note that these values are bound to fluctuate a bit. It's pretty easy to tell that the best overall light, which is quickly becoming the norm, is the LED light. Fluorescent lights are still used for their cost-effective, high light output, while sodium bulbs are mostly used for outdoor night lighting, like a street lamp. However, sodium bulbs are not the most eco-conscious, and slowly being replaced by LED bulbs as well.
Now the truth is LED can now get up to 100 CRI, but are still very expensive for 100 CRI bulbs. For the time being, incandescent bulbs may be our most cost-effective tools for color accuracy.
100 CRI is often used in painting galleries, retail, or any space where color is extremely important for the viewer. To mimic daylight safely, 100 CRI is used in the incubators of newborns to get them used to true light cycles throughout the day. Most indoor residential spaces use incandescent or LED lights, while factories, supermarkets, and other commercial spaces often use long fluorescent bulbs. Lastly, the sodium bulbs are really only used outside in a utilitarian way to light streets and landscaping at night for safety or aesthetics.
As you can see, CRI has many uses, especially for floorers. So whether you're trying on a pair of pants or explaining what true color is to a client for their floors,
Maybe with one of ScanGrip's LED 100 CRI work lights, CRI has many professional and artful uses in our spaces. For more helpful videos and other deeper dives, please go to www.ledcodingsolutions.com.
Now that you've watched all of our color videos, it's time to relate all of this info to wood surface finishing. Color theory, temperature, and CRI all play into the appearance of our floors in addition to other variables. First is texture. All wood has a natural fiber and grain. Straight grains reflect light more uniformly, while irregular or figured grains, like burls or crotches, scatter light in various directions, creating a dynamic appearance. Burl wood is formed when the tree undergoes stress or injury, causing abnormal growth that results in a complex and highly figured grain pattern. The crotch is where the tree branches out, often leading to a convergence of grain patterns. The next factor in our floor's appearance is the natural oils and resins of the woods, resulting from the wood's density. These substances can create a glossy finish that amplifies the wood's natural colors and patterns. Our next variable that affects wood appearance is the type of finish used, like varnish, oil, wax. A glossy finish increases light reflectivity, enhancing the wood's natural colors and grain patterns. A matte finish diffuses light, reducing glare and making the surface appear softer. Now let's talk about color. Wood naturally contains various pigments and minerals that absorb and reflect different wavelengths of light. This creates the diverse colors we see in different types of wood. Light also plays a huge role in our perception of wood's color. Areas where light hits directly appear brighter, while areas where the light is absorbed or scattered appear darker. This creates a three-dimensional effect on the wood surface. Take a look at this wood floor pattern, known as a herringbone or chevron pattern. Each piece is laid out in a V-shaped pattern, with the grain of each piece running in opposite directions. When light hits these patterns, it can either be absorbed, reflected, or refracted. Pieces with grain oriented in one direction might reflect more light towards the viewer, making them appear lighter. Conversely, pieces with grain in the opposite direction might reflect less light, making them appear darker. This contrast creates a dynamic visual effect. Also, when wood is cut from burls or crotches, the light often hits the surface and bounces in various directions in what appears as chatoyance. Chatoyance is the optical effect where wood shimmers, depending on how we look at it due to the microscopic structure of the wood fibers. It's a very special quality. In addition to the strength and angle of our light, we know our color temperature and CRI affect how we perceive our wood. Color temperature is measured in kelvins. A warm light at 2000 Kelvin to 3000 Kelvin has a yellowish hue and can make wood appear richer and more golden. This type of light can enhance the warm tones in wood, such as reds, oranges, and yellows, making the wood look cozy and inviting. Neutral light or natural white light at 3500 Kelvin to 4500 Kelvin provides a balanced view of the wood's colors. It neither warms nor cools the tones significantly, allowing the true colors of the wood to be seen without much alteration. Lastly, cool light at 5000 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin has a bluish tint and can make wood appear more washed out or less vibrant. This light can bring out cooler tones in the wood, such as grays and blues, and may make warm-toned woods look less appealing. Then, of course, there is CRI, or a light source's ability to accurately represent color when compared to a natural or standard light source, like the sun. A high CRI light source at 90 to 100 CRI accurately reveals the colors of the wood as they would appear under natural sunlight. This is important for tasks requiring precise color differentiation, such as woodworking or evaluating wood quality. A medium CRI source at 70 to 89 can provide decent color rendering but might not show the wood's true colors, especially in complex grain patterns or subtle hues. Lastly, a low CRI source, or a source at 70 or below, can distort the colors of the wood, making them appear dull or off. This can be problematic in settings where color accuracy is essential. One last consideration in our flooring is, of course, the space itself, meaning what color are the walls? Will they darken or lighten the floors as they reflect light? And where is our light coming from? A skylight with the blue of daylight? Big or small windows? Does it bounce off of anything, like foliage casting a more green light? Or a deeper colored wall reflecting its hue onto our floors? This may also change slightly day to day and season to season, but is certainly something to consider when choosing our flooring.
Hi guys, I hope you liked the video. So basically we have Kelvin, which is the temperature. It's the color of the light. And also we have CRI, which is the quality of the light. The higher the CRI, more Mother Nature, the sunlight, you're getting closer to that. So basically daylight, sunlight, it is the 100 CRI, and everybody today will produce bulbs that, highest number closer to 100. So if you want to see a true color of something, you need to be closer to 100 CRI. So the quality bulb, today you can buy lights that when you're making color samples, like Scan Grip, this is very high in CRI. So if you're making color samples at your shed, your place, and you are not keep taking the sample outside to the light to compare with, to have the higher CRI, this is the bulbs I will use. That's what I'm using it. Also, this one could change the Kelvins. It could go from 25,000 to 6,500, depends of which Kelvin you want to make the color on. And then the last thing, of course, is the reflection of the wood grains, which Howard will catch that when we get to that. I want to first say, when I make color myself, how important it is to have this knowledge about the Kelvin and CRI and what I will do to make a color. sample. So if I have a color sample that I'm matching to a gray sample or brown or whatever, the white, there's so many different whites, even if I have the pad, the cloth and napkin, they're all different whites. Sometimes people would think we have only one type of white. White is so different, and white is so sensitive. That's why I'm going to take a white color today to use as a sample. And we have that white color. So the way your 2,500, 2,000 Kelvin bulb, which is going to be very warm bulb, to compare to 4,000, 6,000 bulb, going to be more bluish bulb, that's going to make such a huge difference on your color. So to me, to know when I'm going to go ahead and make a comparison color, I want to know from the beginning what's the Kelvin they have at the place. So when I do my measurement of my space, introduction of the space, I take notes. I take the moistures from the wood, I take the thickness of the wood, what we're gonna do, what's the stairs difference. So if you're gonna make a product, not only the finishing, I also will take the Kelvin of the space of their lights. I have a small little Kelvin meter, like I guess you could see if I'm holding on right here, you could see 2,800 to 3,000 is my bulbs. It's giving me my number. And basically, I have that. I can check with that, but I also could ask the architect, designer, what they're going to design this area, what they're going to have their bulbs. And I will take that note, will have that, because I will make my color according to that. And, high CRI, the light, I will put it on. And let's say 90% will be between 3,000, 3,500, but some cases they go 2,000. I will make my color matching under that. Because when I bring it to the site, suddenly, if I make it on 3,500 and the site is 4,000, my color will get blushed or it will get too bluish. So it will not work. So that's why I really want to use that way of making the color. So for example, talking about that, I want to put a color on the piece of wood, on a white oak. I'm going to use this time LED curing technique. I want to use a LED oil. Today I'm using Vesting LED product. Basically, I'm going to put some white on the piece of wood, and then I'm going to shine different Kelvins and see how that light going to affect to my white color. So right now we're 3,000 Kelvin here, 3,500, and I'm going to go ahead and put that on the piece of wood, and then I'm going to shine a different light and see what's going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and put the little tape here. Got it. Okay. So this is a Vesting LED oil, ultra white. So here I am. I'm going to applicate it with the red pad. Just burnish it on. I'm going to do this quick because we don't have too much time. And I'm going to take the access off a little bit. And then I'm going to finish it up with the white pad. So basically, if you see these small lines there, that means I have enough oil. And here we go. I have this done. And I'm going to go ahead and cure it. I'm going to just cure it with the LED light. How is that, Howard? Is it dry? You know, and I'm gonna use the opportunity, use maybe to have another coat. So basically, every time you applicate this oil, it will get more of the color. So I want to make a little bit more wider here. I just use the same dirty pad, and then it's not too much oil on it. Take the excess off. Okay. You see how much wider it gets when you're getting this second coat. Basically, more you put, wider you will get. So here I am. I have two coats of oil and one coat of oil. I could have kept it the way I want it. Now I want to shine a scan grip, small light, but it's got from 2,500 to 6,500 Kelvin. So I want to see how the color is going to look different under the different light. Okay, so basically, if you see it, this is 2,500. Okay, so let's say that's the color light they have it at their apartment or home. And look at how different it get when I went 4,500. You know, if I go 65, it totally gets blue. So you see the big difference. Now, if I know this is what's going to be in their home, but that's the color we really need, I will put more orange in it. So, but if their home is going to be 2,500, you know, and that's the color I'm going to need to be, I will add a little bit blue in it to get that closer to that color, to this color, to get neutral. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do something quickly here. I'm going to take the same white, right? And I have, with vesting, we have red, yellow, blue tints, color. I'm going to put a little bit, very small amount of blue inside. As you see, I'm breaking this color a little bit more bluish. So if you compare this to regular white, it looks pretty blue, right? Look at the difference. It looks so blue. Let's tape that quickly. Okay. Okay. So now I know they're going to have very orange lights, and most likely it could be office space, whatever it is, but I want to make sure that my color is not going to go to orange. I am going to use a little blue inside. So basically, what's orange? Orange is red and, Howard?
Yellow.
Yellow. So the blue is my third color. So if I use blue, I can neutralize that orange light hitting it, and I can get it that to just a standard, beautiful standard, a white. Okay, so take the access off. Go to the next pad. Okay, now you could see the difference between these two. I will add a little bit more blue maybe, huh, Howard?
Yeah.
Or not. We'll add a little bit more blue. Yeah. You see? You see how cool blue it is? Right now, it's got blue tint to it, right? You could see the blue tint. So if you guys could see it, it's pretty much blue, right? So let me just take my tapes off. I want to cure it. So basically, you could see how blue this is next to that. But now, when I shine my light on, you see, let's cover this. You see now, that turns almost neutral. Like this is blue, like this is a neutral white. But if I will go bluer light, cooler light, is gonna go bad. But remember, our light at home was very orangey. That's why I had blue in there and I killed that orange. So basically, I just did something reverse. Instead of changing the bulbs because they want their bulbs, 2000, I made my white a little cooler so that orange color neutralize it with my blue. So basically that's what I did. So one of the things, the Calvin, it can be also, the Calvin, it could be also filtered or neutralized with the walls. So like you see over there, the walls, they were red. So, if you have a blue light hitting to the red, you're killing that blue, and then your reflection to the floor, it's different. So all this color theory, red, yellow, blue, the way interact with the Calvin and wall or greens outside or winter, summer reflection from white to green, or autumn, orange trees, that really all of them, the light reflection changes, the look of your final surface. But thank God you can adjust bulbs, or also you can adjust pigments in the color to know what bulbs you're working with. Another very important thing we talked in the video, it's the CRI. CRI, basically, it's a high quality light that's got all the rays of like almost the sun rays that reflects that black body to the full color of it. If let's say you're looking very, the intricate painting, Van Gogh, like if you look at it under sunlight or you look at it in just a regular light, you might not see a lot of stuff in the regular light. There's so many color tones, they're not going to show it. But if you put under high CRI light, you will see. So it's important you make your colors under high CRI light. The other thing we want to talk quickly, how the light just itself reflects to the wood and how come the wood gives you different colors back without even staining, or how the color absorbs into the wood and reflects back. I'm going to turn that to Howard. That's a huge thing, which we will have so much more to talk about it. We will make another video just for that. But today, Howard's going to quickly introduce a little bit of it, what are we seeing it. And then later on, you guys will ask all the questions.
The three factors that are going to affect the color are the condition of the surface, the position of the observer, and the size of the cells and the orientation of the cells to the actual surface. Okay, a little bit more detail. So if the surface has a coarse structure, it's going to absorb more light. If it has a high density or fine surface, it's going to reflect more light. And if there are variations in density and coarseness, or that's going to give you differences in color absorption. It's also going to affect the absorption of the stains and the coatings.
Mm-hmm.
So the other factor that we look at is something that is referred to as chatoyance, which is where these changes in direction of the wood cell structure are basically very, very abrupt. And so you'll see these around crotches and burls, and any place where there's a kind of a dramatic shift in the wood direction. And so what that really reflects is a change in the cell directions. And so they reflect the light and the color differently. And so the other thing that we have is the position of the observer. And that's really manifested in most instances when we see a herringbone floor. So we look in one direction, and if we're standing in one place, one row looks dark and the other looks light. And then if we move 90 degrees, the alternate pieces look light and dark. So essentially what that does is that creates a visual difference when in actuality the color really isn't different on the surface. It's based on the position of the observer.
So basically, besides the minerals, oils, and all that in the wood, I see a huge effect is the way it's positioned to that cells, micro, the grains.
Yeah, so
towards to
most wood is composed of cells that run the long direction of the piece. And so those, depending on whether you're looking at them in the same direction as the grain or perpendicular to the grain, it's going to manifest as a slightly different color. So looking across the grain, there's more light absorbed. And looking with the grain, there's less light absorbed, so there's more reflectance and the colors are lighter.
I got you. So when you go to the burls and crotches, it gets really complicated because in that small unit, they are all different angles. But let's say you're just looking at regular maple, and people, they say a lot of time maple, when they sand it, they put a color on, it will give you blotchy, will not reflect the right color. So what happens over there? That's something very important. I know we will talk next seminar about this, but this is very useful if you can give us.
It's basically pretty simple. It's that when we cut a piece of wood out of a tree, all of the cells are not perfectly aligned in the same direction. So as we cut that piece of wood and we cut across the cells, some of them are aligned absolutely perfectly to the surface, and some of them are cut through at a slight angle, which exposes the interior of the cell, which is empty. The cell lumen is
Sticking out.
They're sticking up,
so
and where
you
slice them off, the color is going to be absorbed more. So essentially, it's an absorption of material because the structure is less dense, and so it's the same effect as if you had an oak with the early wood and the late wood, where you get the early wood with the larger cells gives you that really high color absorption, and the late wood, which is more dense, gives you not a lot of color absorption.
Gotcha. So basically, like in a maple, it will be just because the grains are not straight, some of them, they're lifting it up. So you're slicing, you're almost getting end grains in the middle of the wood and moving flat again. So that's why when you put one coat or two coat, it will be thirsty some places because it's sucking in. And so the sheen also determines, how well protected the surface is to give you the depth and all that.
And you can get similar effects in any other species as well. It just seems to be more visible in maple because maple is so hard to stain anyway.
Yeah. Okay, Howard, this is great. I mean, I'm so glad you're with me today and we're sharing this. This is a whole different because I know and not the color theory and the light, but finishing wood, the cells and the way they're positioned. We gotta learn a lot from you. Maybe next time we'll put something together, we'll go through that. But thank you for the explain about the chatoyans and the herringbone chevron, how our position reflection of the light itself shows the difference of the colors in a wood. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. And now let's go back to Q&A. Let's see if any questions you guys have, we can answer for you. And if we don't have the time, we want to be 1 hour. tops, but you can leave those questions, or after you watch all the videos, color theory and the light, maybe you have more questions, we will be glad to answer for you guys.
Hey guys, so there's a question we have that I think relates very closely to what you were just talking about and what Howard was explaining. The question is, how does the sheen of the finish affect how the color appears on the floor, or does it?
Howard?
So the higher sheens give you more clarity, and so you'll have a more intense color. The lower sheens diffuse the light on the surface, so the finish will look softer, and it generally doesn't render as intense a color. So a lot of times when you're dealing with designers, they'll want to use a satin or a semi-gloss because it has a richer color versus a matte, which is probably a little bit easier to look at as far as having dirt and things on the floor.
So basically, if we're looking at it, we want to see a depth of the wood, it's a crotch, or it's a dark color, you want to go more glossier so it could come out. But if you go into the white color, grays, you want that diffused flat look, you will go more matte.
Yeah, the gloss is going to fight with the white colors.
Yeah, it will look like more plastic.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions? I hope it answers.
Yeah, this is a good one. With changing the light, can you make red oak look like white oak?
The green light.
Yeah, basically, yes. If I can, we have a red oak right there. Let me see. Yeah. It's like this is a red oak, right? So if I was going to have just a regular 2000 on it, you could see that, the red oak, it looks even more red or orangier. But if I really take it to more bluer light, it gets kind of cooler and loses the red. But if I could have put a little bit more green to this, maybe we just got green in it, a little bit green in it.
Oh,
That
there
you
you go.
see, I guys, don't try this at home. It just happened. So filters it, and it gives you that more white oak
White does
feeling,
look like white oak.
So yeah, your light could do that. Depends. Today, all the lights they have, most of the lights you can buy, they have changeable Kelvins, and you could do that. Yeah, that was a good question. Yeah, the light is the same thing. And if in color theory, it's a filter, it's a paint, it's a tint, like you can add on to the wood. It is the same thing. The reflection of the color coming in, light coming directly, or you're mixing it, you're putting it, tint in it, is the same thing.
I just want to ask a quick question. If you change the color temperature of the lighting, is that also going to affect the color rendering, the colors that you get off of fabrics and like draperies and wall colors and furniture?
Everything is the same thing, because all those colors, they consist of red, yellow, blue. So and whoever the dominating, the red or yellow, and then if you're giving the Kelvin, bluish or orangey, it's going to affect to definitely your fabrics and everything else.
So maybe Mrs. Vanderbilt's favorite dress isn't going to look right if you change the bulbs in the house.
Exactly. So depends, if it's a Christmas, maybe we should put a red bulb. Okay.
That actually relates to another question we have, guys. And this also reminds me of a story you've told before, Avedis. I've seen when you're teaching, you've talked about like situations before where the color of the floor they thought was a little off and you fixed it by changing the lighting. So maybe you can also tell that story. The question is, what if I change the bulbs and the color is still off? Or like, what if the customer won't let you change the bulbs? What do you do?
Yeah, basically, because a lot of times if it's a really high-end design, the project, they have specific bulb, Kelvin temperature, because they do know what kind of decor they're gonna have, and they're gonna be working with those lights. Of course, they're not gonna let you change their whole decor because of your floor you're trying to. But the incident I had, they were not, rhythm, their lighting. They were like, some of them 35, some of them 4,000, and there were a couple 2,000, so it was all mixed up. And I really brought everything to 3,500, which is a normal lighting. People usually, they go between 3,000 to 3,500. And because my colors was also made in 3,500, so it kind of brought together. But if they cannot, if you cannot play with the lighting, then you could do exactly what I just did earlier. I tinted it. See, I put a little bit blue in it because I know I have an orange light. So if the designer have 2,500, 2,300 Kelvin, it's very warm light, and they want that cool white floor, then I will make a little bit blue in a white, or a little purplish blue in a white, to that light kind of neutralize that orange, then give me that coolness. That's really a nice task. You could do that.
So in Avedis, just to be clear, I mean, with most finishes, if you already had the finish down and they didn't like the color, you would need to be sanding the floor. But with your oils, do you want to just talk about that?
Yeah. With our oils, with LED product, no matter the Heidelberg or Vesting, they both you can stack it one on top of another. They look like a sea urchin molecules. They just grab each other, like you saw when I put one coat and a second coat. I changed the color by adding more color to it. Yeah, in usually I put two coats, one coat color and one coat clear. So when I put my one coat color, if you see you want to adjust, instead of putting clear transparent, I can put purple transparent, yellow transparent, blue transparent. I can adjust the color right there with no extra charge before I put my last coat. So they have chance looking at the color, and they want to tweak it, we can tweak it right there.
Excellent. We also had a question come in that kind of relates to this. Vicky says, I want to have just the natural color of the wood without a stain color. So what do you put on if you just want natural?
It's a great question.
You want to answer?
No, I want to hear your answer, because you're way better at color than I am.
So no, don't say that, because I learned so much from you, Howard. Now, what was the exact question? So
He's looking to keep the let me.
The natural color of the wood.
He
without
wants, he wants the raw look on the wood. Is that what you're saying?
just the natural color in quotes.
Yeah, the natural color without any ambering when you put the coating.
beautiful. Yeah. Okay. Depends what type of wood it is. Is it a red oak, white oak, the walnut, mahogany? We teach this in our color school. This has a little bit to do with color theory, but it also is a technique. A lot of manufacturers, the Vocus, Serenova, Rubio, they all got their own color that calls natural, invisible. So in the clear, they got very little bit of pigment, like sometimes white, sometimes off-white, depends. It's going over what piece of wood. Like in 90% they take as a baseline benchmark is a white oak. But in my experience, that white oak, these manufacturers, they make it for European white oak, and it will not work if you put it in an American white oak. It will show some residue on the soft grains. So what I will do, for instance, I will take that soft grain right now. I will see that color, what I have in a soft grain. I will put in the clear enough color to be that color. So when I wear it, it changes. But if my color is light enough to that, I will put that color on, and everything will stay to that color. Hard grain will not take it as much because it's so transparent. And a soft grain will take that color. and then it will stay neutral. So when people they make invisible or you gotta make it for your product. So if I have a walnut, I will take that walnut softer grain and it will make that beigey brown and I'll put it on. It will look unfinished. So that's the way I create my unfinished color. We will teach that in a color class. We will be doing a color class online as well.
Great. Okay, here's one. What if the customer likes the floor color in the daylight, but they don't like it at night, or vice versa? Like, can you make the customer happy with the color of the floor 24/7? Is that possible?
Okay, customer, yes, we can. This can be today's technology. You could go really wild on this. That's a really good one. We know a company in Chicago as well. They have this high-tech color, the lighting system. They basically, you could have so you need, first of all, very high CRI because daylight it's a 100 CRI, but also daylight, as you see in the video, it's changing during the day, evening, early in the morning, the Kelvin. But there is a whole software and a really high CRI bulbs that your electrician could put those lighting on, and it will kind of take with the outside light timing, and you will change the Kelvin during your day. So as long as that is a high CRI, let's say in afternoon, if it's the sun coming out really orange, and evening coming very orange in a sunset on the ocean, your light inside will turn orange as well. So this way you will not notice that all through. So now at night, we will choose one Kelvin, maybe 3500 and a high CRI. It will still look like the color from the day, what they're looking for. So there's two things they got to do: very high CRI bulb, or if they want that, parabol to go all through the day, they can program their lighting to take that.
That is really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's really neat because I don't think anyone's ever taught this before in the wood flooring industry, and you can just see how knowing about this can really make your life better as a wood flooring pro.
Well, it changes your level of being a professional.
It's a huge, especially grays, they will look totally different, little bit, different on a Kelvin. It's a huge thing,
Excellent. Well, I think that's all the questions that came in so far. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add as we wrap this up?
Well, Howard, if you have any questions to me, you can ask me what's any importance that we didn't touch. I don't know. And
well, I personally I think it's groundbreaking to get the understanding that if you take the stain color from that open grain and match it, and then stain the floor and then overcoat it, that's going to capture that natural color. Yeah. I mean, that is really cool. That all these raw finishes, they're the ones I've seen typically look like they have a little orange in them.
Yeah, but see, they call those colors and they have them, but they are not in reality for me universal. Because if I will put it on a red oak, it's gonna totally look different. And a Appalachian oak, it's gonna be different. The European oak is gonna be. So I will tweak that color, which is very easy. You've been in my color class. Yeah. It's very easy to tweak that color right there. And then you put it on and you have like untouched wood, and that's the effect you're gonna get. Also the sheen level, you wanna be very, very matte. Yeah. So you don't have a sheen that bring other colors from the wood.
So now here's a more difficult question.
Okay.
You ready?
I want easy one from the audience, not from you.
So you have a typical American white oak floor.
Okay.
And as you know, our American white oak varies greatly in color.
Yes.
So how do you manage the color difference when you have a client that wants everything to be pretty similar in color?
See, that's why we have Howard over here. Guys, I'll take another question from somebody else. Yeah, guys, by the way, this is not telegraphed. He just came up with these questions, all these questions like we didn't prepare earlier. Yeah, Howard, I have so many different techniques, right? Like one of them, I will bleach the wood.
Okay,
I will neutralize as much as I can. I do that a lot of time because some of the boards, they're very dark. Some of them, they're
Yeah.
like, I will probably bleach few times those darker boards. And I will bring the color as much as to zero,
right.
neutral. And then I will make my color in like a raw effect, and I will get that way.
Okay.
It's again, that's an advanced finishing class. We can show that in there as well.
I in the bad old days, we used to use a lot of bleach and it was not always a consistent result. I personally am scared of this stuff. I don't like using it. Are there any tricks to using bleach as far as when you're bleaching the wood? What should you do to prep for your stain and finish after the bleach is applied?
Well, first of all, it's very important that bleach should go this whole cycle.
Okay.
You know, and after you go to the whole cycle, make sure that that it's neutral already, and then you will go ahead and make a sample in one piece of wood. Let's say if I nail the floors, and then I'm going to bleach this. I will bleach same time freestanding boards by itself. So I have the variety colors, and once it's neutralized, and I will go ahead and try the color to make it on that. Just due to the LED technology, you're gonna get the color instantly, because usually when you use a regular stains, in a week or in 2 weeks, it's gonna change the color. So here it's UV cured. You see the color exactly what it is, and then it's not gonna change. And also, just a little tip, when you're using a bleach, if I'm gonna make a black color, right? Or a dark brown, something like this, right? And a lot of times sunlight bleaches the finish. I will probably bleach the hell out of this wood so many times, then I will make a black or a dark brown, because my pigments, they are synthetic. They're not going to change my color pigments, especially Vesting got the best pigments. They're made from oxides, and they are not going to change the color, but the wood itself, it can start turning orange. But if I bleach it, I will have neutralized that sun bleach, and then my color will not change as well later. So don't worry about the bleach too much. I think it could be really helpful as well.
Excellent. So before Howard can ask more extremely complicated questions, we are at the end of our time for our session. So if people have questions after this, feel free to email them to us, and we will make sure they get to Avedis to be answered directly to you. You will be getting a recording of this session in your email tomorrow, and this will also be posted on the Wood Floor Business YouTube and the LED Coating Solutions YouTube, so you can find it all over and share it with coworkers and colleagues and refer back to it. So Avedis and Howard, thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge with us today. This has been fantastic.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you for having the platform for us to show this kind of cool things. And please keep up looking at the social media. We're going to have a lot more other, the techniques and probably about the cells, how to absorb color. We will have those soon. Thank you for joining us, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.